Would you believe me if I told you that I'm a theatre kid? And water is wet. But yeah, I did a lot of plays at university, including one about abortion. And we did a little show at our local Waterstones, and it was protested by pro-lifers. And we were just completely gobsmacked that they would care about university students doing a frankly not very good show about abortion. But they did. They picketed, they came with signs, they were praying outside. It was a hoot. And that was my first proper in-person exposure to pro-life campaigners in England. Oh, and we kept the sign. But yeah, growing up in mostly Britain, I'd say that my exposure to pro-life folks has been fairly limited. When media coverage highlighted that there was a pro-life society or club at the University of Exeter, there was mass outrage, and some even calling for the society to be banned on grounds of making women feeling unsafe on campus. However, if you were to go on a US campus, it would be a given that you'd bump into some pro-life folks, and banning such a club would be unthinkable. That being said, what if I were to tell you that support for the pro-life movement in the UK isn't as rare as you might think, and perhaps that it's been hidden in plain sight?
Irreplaceable! Irreplaceable! They are irreplaceable! We are irreplaceable! I am irreplaceable! Irreplaceable!
We got a Beyonce fan. She's saying you're irreplaceable. To the left, to the left. In the closet, because I can't come out with these.
My name is Tara Mooney, and this is the only channel on YouTube where all videos are written and produced by a cat. She couldn't be in the video today because she's actually with a friend who's in labour with twins, and half twins are super rare, so I'm sure you understand why she couldn't be in the video today. But if you like and subscribe, she might appear in the next one.
Hi dog. Hi dog. What's your opinions on the subject?
Of course, she's pro-life. Yes, a pro-life doggy. She's nothing.
I deserve compensation. Oh hey! On a serious note, street interviews require a lot of equipment. And you know what can help you get things on your wish list for the best price? VPNs. And mine is Surfshark VPN. If you're living under a rock and you're unaware, a VPN encrypts your online data and helps secure your personal information when you use it on free public Wi-Fi. Let's say you're shopping online for a wireless microphone. You don't want websites to show you a price based on your location, so you can turn on Surfshark VPN and get the best deals when shopping online. And let's say you're logging onto your online banking in a public place, like a march or church. You don't want hackers getting into your banking. And of course, my absolute favorite feature of Surfshark is the location changing feature, as Surfshark has 3,200 plus servers in 100 countries. This enables you to unblock content libraries in other locations, and you can unlock the full Netflix library. Like how Mean Girls isn't on UK Netflix? Why do you hate the British? Actually, there are reasons, never mind. So if you want to expand your Netflix catalogue and keep your data safe, download Surfshark today and use the coupon Mooney for an extra 4 months free. Make sure to check it out if you're interested. It really helps out the channel, means I can cover spicy topics like this and still pay people, buy my pets food and toys. So I appreciate it. And thank you Surfshark for sponsoring. Let's just make something clear. There is currently no legal right to have an abortion in the UK. It is available de facto, but in fact, abortion is illegal in the UK, with certain exceptions. The vast majority of abortions are carried out under a liberal interpretation of the abortion rule that allows women to have an abortion if it would have an adverse impact on their mental health. Essentially, abortions across England, Wales and Scotland continue to be regulated by the 1967 Abortion Act. So this means that abortions can be carried out legally up to 24 weeks, must be approved by 2 independent doctors, and performed only in an NHS hospital or a place approved by the Secretary of State. Abortions not pursued under these strict rules may be treated as a criminal offence. In fact, some are, but I'll get to that later. That being said, support for abortion is at an all-time high in Britain. According to a 2023 poll, on the basic question of whether or not abortion should be allowed, 87% of Britons say that it should, compared to only 6% who say that it should not. The support has steadily increased over the past few decades. 47% of those who took part in a world values survey believed the procedure to be justified, when it was at 14% in 1981. My analysis of the numeric differences between these polls is in the wording. Describing something as justified is different to saying it should be allowed. There are people who might not like abortion and choose it for themselves, but believe that it should still be accessible to the public. And those would be the people who are something in between, which is why you see nearly half of Britons saying that the 24-week limit is just about right, but a quarter thinking that it is too late. This tends to be women who are over 40. I would argue that the pro-life versus pro-choice stance is more of a spectrum in the UK, which is why super pro-life people who want to outlaw and criminalise abortion come in smaller numbers and are less vocal than somewhere like the USA. The majority of people in Britain think that women who break these current guidelines shouldn't be prosecuted, even those who want to pull back some of the current laws. So, who the hell are the people going to the march? The March for Life is an annual rally established in 1974 and is a march against the legality of abortion. It's held in Washington, D.C. around the anniversary of the former Roe v. Wade, and it's organised by the March for Life Education and Defence Fund. Trump spoke at the rally in 2020, the first president to do so. This is an American-bred event, but it has worldwide editions. Mr. Worldwide. Locations have included Ottawa, Prague, Rome, Lima, Lisbon, Zagreb, Paris, and many more, but also Birmingham and London, United Kingdom. This year's March for Life was its 10th anniversary, with crowds exceeding 8,000 showing up for the theme, Abortion Isn't Healthcare. Sorry, excuse me a minute, I'm just going to get a jumper, I'm a bit chilly. So compare this to the turnout in 2018, which was half that size. So if the British general public aren't becoming more pro-life, why the increase? It seems to be a mixture of factors. More money for marketing the event, foreshadowing, and of course Roe v. Wade being overturned, emboldening pro-life groups to be more vocal globally. So who makes up the crowd? There are youth groups, church groups, families with their toddlers decked out in merch, the clergy, and me. Wait. Hold up. I mean as press. I went for journalism. I went in the year of 2022 and again in 2023. The purpose of the visit was for research for a video that I have upcoming. I've been saying I'm going to make it for years, and it's on pro-life feminists or the progressive pro-lifers. I still haven't made this video because if I want to cover a serious topic and I feel like I can't cover it perfectly, then I just won't make the video. But I have come up with a nifty solution. This will be the first installment of a series on the pro-life movement, with the climactic video being an essay on pro-life feminists or progressive pro-lifers. So anyways, I went to the march to find women to speak to about whether you can be pro-life and a feminist or if it's an oxymoron. And men talked to me, unsolicited. They kept talking to me.
Personally, I have a couple of ex-girlfriends who've had abortions, and I've just seen that over their life it's deadened them. It's kind of, they convince themselves that they're happy, but they're clearly deeply lonely and unhappy, and it's something they've not been able to get over. And that's something that personally has affected me as well.
Catholicism isn't the state religion in the UK. It is, believe it or not, the Church of England.
That is camp. The Catholics are so camp.
So this march was the highest population density of priests I had ever seen with my own eyes. And there were Catholics coming out of the wazoo.
I'm not religious. What are they singing?
It's the rosary in Latin.
Oh, thank you. It's the rosary in Latin.
Now, here's the setup of the event. In the morning, there's an indoor conference with stalls and talks from experts. And this year's theme was abortion is not healthcare. I'm not going to put the jumper back on because I'm too warm, but remember that jumper I just wore? So this year they had healthcare professionals do panels and...
Is it medically necessary to have an abortion?
Certainly not. We have been proof to that in Ireland.
Savita Halapanava was a dentist of Indian origin living in Ireland who died from sepsis after her request for an abortion after a prolonged miscarriage was denied on legal grounds. Rest in peace.
We do recognise that complications can occur in pregnancy and sometimes emergency situations do arise, but it's important to realise the vast majority of these arrive well into the third trimester, where the treatment is not abortion, it's emergency delivery.
So the way they dance around this is they say it isn't medically necessary because we're just not going to call a late-term abortion abortion. If this is considered a medical platform, then I should get to host a panel saying why my tummy hurts and so does yours, and host it with hot girls who have IBS. This event is going to happen Sunday 5th of October 2031. Be there. So then the march happens, you end up in Parliament Square, and there's a stage for speeches and prayer and remembrance. And credit where credit's due, they make this event marketable. They offer to send you out flyers, they provide a map to find a group to travel with, there's a page with slogans for signs if you aren't witty enough to think of one on your own, and I just need to say, I could not carry one of these signs. Not just because I disagree with the content, but because it would feel like cheating. If I'm going to hold up a sign, it's going to be a pun from my own brain, damn it. They even provide you with memes to share. They call them memes. It's a liberal interpretation of a meme. Art is subjective. Graphic design is their passion. The event is growing in attendance year on year, and I imagine if Trump is elected, people will feel more inclined to attend. And I don't think it's that there's a significant increase in people becoming pro-life in the UK, but that they feel more emboldened to be more vocal about it. So this minority will only get louder and louder and louder.
Today, you are marching not just for the baby, not just for the woman, not just for the family, but for future generations.
We will not stop until the fight for life of the innocent preborn human is guaranteed.
Stand up for what is true, despite the consequences.
Notice something peculiar. Do you notice a theme with the speakers? Do you smell that? It smells like freedom. Where are all these Americans coming from? America? So, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have as many pro-life campaigners and celebrities as, say, the US media.
Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt?
Yes.
This is a dolphin fetus.
So let me...
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. This is how similar this is, but quite different.
So the UK's pro-life movement is importing them. The event itself is an American import. And you may have been wondering, who's paying for all this? So March for Life UK takes direct donations, but also relies on campaigning and attendance from other pro-life organisations. Isabel Vaughan Spruce is the director of UK March for Life and also leads the UK division of the US-based 40 Days for Life, a Texas-based group that specialises in training protesters and organising anti-abortion clinic demonstrations. The group also runs a university, an online programme where for $497, users can access training videos on recruiting fellow protesters and performing sidewalk counselling, obtain anti-abortion signs and materials, and receive coaching from the 40 Days for Life staff. The group now claims to operate more than 1,000 branches in 65 countries. Now, Spruce has been arrested multiple times for violating buffer zones outside of abortion clinics in the UK. Hold that thought. If you're American, you might be familiar with the Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative American legal advocacy group. The UK branch has more than doubled its spending since 2020 and provided Spruce's legal counsel. They also paid for another British priest who got arrested for this, and he appeared on Fox News, so yeah. And the ADF has expanded its lobbying in the UK government by attending meetings with former Tory MP Fiona Bruce. Not Spruce, Bruce. And not Fiona Bruce the journalist, but Fiona Bruce the Conservative MP. In 2019, they paid for flights and other travel expenses for her to attend its youth conference, Arets Academy in Vienna. That same year, she attempted to ban late-term abortions for specific fetal abnormalities. Academy alumni have gone on to work for Bruce's legal firm, and in September 2023, she took another donation to cover expenses from ADF International, this time worth £1,700. She's also spoken at March for Life. She's no longer in Parliament, so phew, but man, did they really try and get their grubby little mitts on UK government. As for the UK's branch of the Centre for Bioethical Reform, they launched a billboard campaign featuring graphic images in pro-choice Labour MP Stella Creasy's constituency. She wanted to expand the laws on abortion and has called for us to cement it in law. The group's small size means it does not have to report full accounts, but because its staff numbers have risen from 4 in 2017 to 12 in 2024, that suggests more moolah. So basically, do I have to become anti-abortion to get me an American sugar daddy? Now, I'm by no means saying that the pro-life movement in the UK is being fully funded by Americans. You know, Right to Life UK is a leading anti-abortion charity who have increased spending on Facebook ads, like £117,000 in 2023, which is 10 times the amount they spent in 2020. But the influence of US funding is significant, and the already existing pro-life campaigners in the UK are being given a platform and a greater ability to spread their message. We're even seeing pregnancy crisis centres in the UK, including clinics operated by US organisation Stanton Healthcare. In 2018, a Times of London reporter visited one of these clinics, specifically a Belfast clinic. She recorded a conversation in which she was told that abortion would make her breasts fill with cancer and was warned you could get your womb perforated. You might be left sterile. A few years ago, I wouldn't have made this specific video. As I said at the top of this video, I'd been under the impression that the pro-life in the UK was unthreatening and inconsequential. But here's the thing. If political minorities are loud enough, they can get their way, especially with a little help from their friends. According to the ADF's publicly available tax data for 2020, the most recent year on file, the organisation claimed close to $10 million on overseas expenditures. In the fiscal year 2015 to 2016, the figure was just over $3 million. ADF declined to answer questions from The Guardian about its more recent overseas expenditures. They are on a mission. And bear in mind that access to abortion is not enshrined in UK law. So now is the time to cement that right de jure. 7 in 10 women support making the change, including 86% of women under 40, as do 71% of men. But just because the majority of the public share a view on something does not mean you should take those rights for granted. The majority of the US public disapproved of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, and well, look where we are. And with the UK law being as it currently is, people are being prosecuted for having abortions. These cases are thankfully rare, but they've been increasing. Between April 2014 and December 2021, at least 36 women were questioned by police over pregnancies that allegedly ended outside of the timeframe outlined in the Abortion Act 1967. In 2021, a 15-year-old girl who experienced an unexpected stillbirth became part of a year-long criminal investigation, which was dropped after the coroner concluded that the pregnancy ended due to natural causes. And yes, the charges were dropped. She was put through that for a year. Decriminalise it. Pretty please. Phew, well, that was heavy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I am still in the process of writing the pro-life, feminist, progressive pro-life movement video essay. I initially said, I think in 2022 that I wanted to make it, and I even hired a researcher. So the material is there. I've just been scared to make it, but I am gonna make it now. I've decided. Life's too short. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Thank you for checking out Surfshark. It really helps me out checking out sponsors. It means I have the freedom to cover topics like this, to do more risky journalism, and to pay people who work for me. Such costs are also covered by my patrons, so thank you so much to them. If you're interested in seeing the full footage from the pro-life march, it's on my Patreon. And that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this. Instead of a subscription pet shout out, I'm just gonna show you my gender fluid cat, Mr. Ella. I'll get back to it on the next video. Bye bye. Bye bye now. Bye bye. Bye bye now. Bye bye.